Wow, am I the only good student here?
You're the only good student. Well, I had one person try and log in at
Mhm.
5:30,
Oh, wow. Okay.
so they were really early. And now,
Uh,
and now, I guess they had something to do, so they've logged off.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't know
Okay,
where our
well,
friend
we
Sid
we
is.
can we can shoot the shit, right?
Yeah, man. Why not? You know,
Exactly. How you been, Spike?
I'm good, man. Yeah, really
Yeah.
good. Nice day here
Okay.
in Houston. The weather's just getting hot, but
Oh,
beautiful.
okay. Oh, yeah.
How
Does it
about you?
get pretty bad in Texas?
Oh man, it gets so hot here. Yeah,
Phoenix, I know Phoenix is terrible. I don't know about Dallas.
Dallas is hot too. Yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm jealous of you Californians with that.
Yeah,
That's
this is
yeah,
today is a very pleasant day. Very pleasant in the 70s, upper 60s, low 70s. Really nice.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I got a bunch of things done. I was feeling very productive today.
Did you?
Uh, yeah, the last month, I don't know if you know, but I'm Muslim, so I do the Ramadan thing, fasting.
I saw your last post on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, that
That
is. Mhm.
crazy place you went.
Yeah, yeah, that's established by the Thai community.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little family-owned mosque, which has a bunch of people from all around the world,
yeah,
like the mini United Nations.
yeah.
So
So it's a
yeah, yeah, I was getting at was during the fasting period. I don't know. I'm sure you've tried this, but I feel insanely productive.
oh really
It's incredible. Yeah, you should try a water fast. Just drink water for 24 hours. See what happens to you.
interesting. Why
Yeah.
is that?
So there's a lot of science behind it. Apparently, your body. Long story short, your body starts burning the glucose out of your system, and it produces what are called ketones. I think that's what they're
Oh
called.
right.
So
Yeah.
those are like energy releasing things, and you feel very energized. You feel like, and I sometimes during the month I felt I could do twice the work that I did in one day. It's like I've lived 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not just psychological. It's actually even physically you feel the difference. And I lost a bunch of weight during the last month.
Nice.
So it's every year I do this, but then again I put on like a bunch of weight.
So there's the diet. Oh, what is it
Mhm.
called? Where it puts you in ketosis.
All right,
What
keto
is
diet,
that called?
right?
What's that diet?
Keto. It's called keto diet.
Keto, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you should do that year round.
Probably, or just not eat much.
Yeah.
Just eat one meal a day, which is what I try to do normally. But yeah, it's anyway. I feel good physically. I feel good. I feel better.
Good.
Just need to translate that into greater photographic talent.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it would translate. I guess energy translates because photographing requires a lot of energy. Yeah.
Sure, sure,
So you had
absolutely.
a productive day though.
Pretty good, yeah. I mean, a lot of my students are graduating this month. It's that time of the year, right? So there's a lot of paper pushing that I do, unfortunately or fortunately. And since I direct the program, there are about 25 students graduating, and a lot of paperwork needs to be done before they walk, right? So
Okay.
all that stuff gets pushed my way. I had to approve a bunch of things, do a bunch of calls, and make sure everything is lined up. And as usual, students are not very careful about having the paperwork done.
It's hard to get people to do things they don't want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody wants to walk, but they don't want to do the paperwork.
Yeah. I know the feeling. But hey, when those students have finished,
Mhm.
are you free for the summer?
Good question. So technically, I could be if I wanted to, but I have a 12-month contract, which
Right.
means I work year round. But my teaching load is very low in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I have very little work, which means I get to do a bunch of other things, travel and do other stuff as well.
That's nice. So
Yeah.
taking photos, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually headed to Oaxaca on 17th.
Beautiful.
So I thought, let me join this call before I leave. I may not be able to join when I'm there. So
Yeah, man. I mean, do what you do. Do what you got to do.
yeah,
Concentrate on the photography, I'd say.
exactly.
Oh, I think we've had Jack. Jack joined as well. How you doing, Jack? I can see you're muted though. Oh, hey man. How are you?
Hi, Jack.
I think you got your mute on.
Gotcha. Here we go.
Hey, bud.
Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Jump in anytime. We were talking about freeing up summer schedules
Mm.
a little bit. I don't think you guys have met, right? So,
No.
Oh, yeah, it's my first time joining in.
Oh,
okay.
Rico, welcome.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing real good. I'm out here in California.
Oh, you okay? So Sabif up there is also California, right?
Yeah, which
Okay.
part, Jack? Where are you?
So, San Diego.
Oh, okay. Close. Yeah, close enough. I'm in LA, Greater LA.
Oh, cool. That's funny.
Neighbors.
Yeah, strange,
Yeah.
huh?
Fellow West Coast neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Californians
Mhm.
joining into this thing. Yeah,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you know where the creative talent is, right?
I think so. It must be.
The good weather. I think it's the weather. Yeah. The weather brings the talent, right?
Yeah.
I think so, man. Yeah. Yeah, Californians and some New Yorkers as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but
Cool.
that's all good. So, Jack, what are you working on, man? How'd you-
I tell stories, that revolve around people. I really enjoy. I've had the chance to shoot a lot of action in my career, sports, things like that, X Games,
Okay.
kind of stuff like that. People that do kind of extreme sports on a on the grand stage. X Games, Olympics. But what I'm drawn to is that you spend time with these people and you realize how similar they are to you, even though you put them on this pedestal and maybe they're these Olympic gold medalists, but at the same time they eat the same foods for breakfast. And I like to see these quiet moments, and really kind of tell stories behind the scenes, sort of in that regard.
Yeah, nice.
So that's what I'm drawn to in documentary video and photography.
Okay. I like the point you made. I have the same feeling when I photograph something that's perhaps conflict based between two groups of people or two individuals even. One group, my preconception is I agree with these people, or I agree with their plight, or I agree with their journey, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Spend time with the opposing side that perhaps I don't empathize with or agree with, and I realize the same thing. I realize it's just a person like me who is doing the best they can with what they have, and we all have a mother, and everyone needs to eat.
Yeah.
So I guess it's similar to what you're saying, where you're spending time with that famous person or talented person, and they're just the same as you.
Yeah. To that point, real quick, I shot some combat sports one time, a UFC match, that mixed martial arts. And yeah, it brought me to that moment, was like that second after the blood is done shedding and they're hugging, and these are two humans that are sharing an experience that we all can connect to, even though we're not in the ring.
Yeah.
You see it on a more violent level, but we can see it in our sports sometimes.
Yeah, I saw one. There's a photo that you reminded me of, Conor McGregor, and he's lost a fight and he's young, and I think it's his wife who's hugging him afterwards. But he looks like a 11-year-old boy who's crying.
So small, right?
Yeah, really,
That moment.
really broken. Yeah. Cool. And Joe, thanks for joining, man. How are you?
Hey guys, I'm good. I just never done and asked me anything in person before. I just figured I'd jump in.
Thank you for jumping on. I really appreciate it. So it's your first time on here.
I gotta say, just jumping right into extreme sports like that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
I did some work with World Team Tennis. It's like a private tennis league essentially,
Oh,
and
wow.
I shot all the interviews and stuff like that. All the what do they call it? They call it features, but it's the 2-minute things that happen right before commercials.
Mhm.
And you're right, man. They're just people. Like all these
Mhm.
athletes, all these pro players and everything. It was surprising how
Yeah.
they were just people that the only thing they did was tennis. Like that was, if I had any
Yeah.
sports related things to talk to them about, great. Or diet, sports or diet. That was about it. But
Really?
yeah,
That's-
not as interesting as any extreme sports, but I'm sure,
it-
anyone skateboarding UFC, they have other interests also that
well,
aren't
you have to be
as painful.
selfish, right? When you're at that level, you can't really you just focus on sleep, diet, sport.
Yeah. Joe, you want to give us a little? Should we go around? I think you guys probably know me, but should we go around and do a little intro so you guys, you can tell me about what you're shooting and each other. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm the bane of my existence right now is a documentary I'm working on. That's it's about, I'm based in New York. I'm on Long Island, and we have this they're calling it a serial killer, or 10 years ago they were the Gilgo Beach murders, and they never were solved. There was no attempt at solving them. It's clearly being covered up. And I jumped into this late. I jumped in at the editing process, but the guy that was hosting the radio show all about it didn't have much of a plan going into it. Just that, he knows all these people. I got to talk to them. I got to get their story. I got to get whatever anyone will tell me. I want to hear it. So that's where I'm at. I've narrowed down a bunch of his sporadic interviews to like a smaller amount, and I'm trying to find a cohesive story that doesn't make me look like the guy from It's Always Sunny with the crazy, board in the background. I'm relatively new to the whole documentary world. It's kind of, I think it was 10, 12 years ago in college. That's what I always thought I'd be doing. But then regular freelance work, just, hey, be a camera guy here, or be a sound guy here, kind of took over the entire time since then. I'm married, have a wife and kids now, and I just want to do better, do more for myself. So that's I'm trying to get back to that. I may have jumped in real deep with this first one, but that's about where I'm at right now.
That's good, man. That's good. Thanks for that. We'll dig into it in a little bit. Who's up next? Sabith, you want to tell them what you do?
Sure. Hi guys. Nice to meet you all. I'm based in LA, greater LA area. And right now I'm just experimenting with a few projects around, one of which is around technology, use of automation and things of that nature. And I have some research going on in Mexico around migration and related issues. So I travel to Mexico quite often for personal and other reasons. So headed back in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now. So trying to firm up a few interviews and try and do some shoots as well. So
nice. And Jack, you said a little bit that you're doing extreme sports and X Games. Are you full time? Are you freelance all the way?
I was full time with a company in that realm, and so that's how I had access to a lot of this stuff. And now on my own, it's yeah, I'm sort of in between, where I want to continue to do that work, but it's harder to get to, on your own.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, like nobody's calling me, right? So
yeah,
I like this program because you're giving us ideas of how to get outside that and maybe find those clients that would love to maybe have you shoot their campaign, but just don't know you exist. And that's where I'm at,
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
It's, there's a real trick to that. But you're in quite a nice niche actually, because you're there's money in your niche, which is a good start.
Yeah, there's a lot of marketing. Yeah, budgets, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I also feel like the breadth of the sporting industry would mean that you could niche into a particular sport, perhaps, and then start building a list of potential clients in that sport, and then just begin hailing emails. I would.
Yeah.
I'd put together like an offer. Like I'd think to myself, all right, well, we if you like BMX, or I don't, maybe something that's a bit more mainstream, even maybe, I don't know, or motocross or something.
Yeah, motocross, San Diego. Surfing's kind of, there's a lot going on. Mountain biking, surfing, kind of skateboarding, those types of things.
Yeah. So
It's all right here. There's a
would
lot of
you
it happening.
rather would you rather appeal to a client one-to-one, or would you rather make work and then publish it in an outlet?
Right. Yeah, I see going both ways, because there's there are good outlets that handle this genre, web-based and smaller, but there's some few print publications that I love and respect. And then I want to come at it from an aesthetic and an earnestness, and sort of let people come to me and that want that type of perspective, so to speak, whether it be visually or just kind of like, I'm not there to shoot that perfect action photo. I'm there to shoot these sort of imperfect moments but they're aesthetically really pleasing to me. I'll share my portfolio. It kind of explains, so I have it sort of there documented, and I want to do more of that work. So it's kind of like, I want to let those sort of speak for themselves, and people hopefully see that and say, wow, that's kind of cool. It's a little different, or maybe it's what we're looking for, or maybe it's not.
Yeah, nice. The way I'm picturing it in my mind is sports photography, but with a bit of a story underneath, a bit immersive.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that humanistic element that
That's
sometimes gets glossed over when you only have the 30 seconds between commercial breaks to, talk about somebody's livelihood or their career.
Yeah. No, that's perfect though. I think because that lends itself towards, for example, here's a scenario. Say you think to yourself, all right, the offer is, I'll reach out to a load of motocross teams, and I'll say, while you're at this race for the weekend, while you're like camping out there and you're in your RVs and you're fixing your bikes, like, I don't know, I imagine Dakar or something,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm Jack. I'll tag along with you. I'll record your experience, your like wins and your losses, plus the behind the scenes stuff, the emotional stuff. I'll do that for X dollars, $1,000, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
You get the images, but I get the rights to publish the images also with ESPN. And then you've just got paid you've got paid to go and make the work, but then you also get paid to sell the work afterwards.
Right.
Maybe.
You're saying I retain the copyright because I'm basically publishing this myself.
Yeah.
I provide them their images.
Yeah.
They win.
Yeah.
For that $1,000 amount, but I still retain the ability to sell it elsewhere.
Yeah. So you kind of split copyright.
Right. And then I can build on that, right, with other subsequent projects, and as hopefully a body of work, maybe comes from that.
Something like that. Yeah.
I like that. Well, we have the Baja 1000 races here. So when you said Dakar, that's our Dakar, right? And I have an experience in that. So that's what you're saying is something I actually maybe could pursue.
You could even get yourself a virtual assistant and say to them, off Upwork or something, I do this a little bit, and I say like, all right, come back to me with 100 email addresses and the contact name for 100 Baja teams in a spreadsheet, and then I'll make one email that fits all of these people, and I'll say, look, I'm Spike, I'd like to come out and spend time with your team at the Baja race. I'll sell you the images, or you can have the images, or whatever you want to do.
Right.
You hit go on your one email, and it hits 1,000, and you'll probably get 10 who'll come back and say, yep.
Yeah. And then while you're there, it's a tight-knit community, so you can rove around and kind of potentially do a couple projects in that weekend. All right. I like that all. It's helpful.
Yeah. I think because you're in a really nice spot where you could put together a solid offer that fits many people, and then it's just a game of numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah, and that, at least that starts that ball rolling with contacts, you know, where you're, you know, once you're sort of in that marketing group or that, you know.
Yeah. The hardest thing I found with being a freelancer, and I think is trying to find that way in. And if when I was beginning, I would have each story I would try to make was new and individual, and what that meant was all the contacts within that story were new and individual.
Right.
So every time I either
Starting
pitched,
from scratch.
yeah, every email was starting from scratch. Hello, I'm this. But if you've got that offer that will work for 1,000 people, way easier. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problems, man. No problem. Helpful a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in line with what I'm thinking. It's finding those little niches.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to. I really like motocross too. I like dirt bikes. I like motocross a lot. And I'd love to race Dakar, but not really race, just do Dakar, but do it slowly, without the risk of injury or anything.
Do it at your pace.
Yeah. I'd love that.
Now, with something like that, like if Jack goes down to Baja and, you know, he takes all these pictures, does this whole behind the scenes for these teams, does it have to be a different deliverable that like he would then go sell to, you know, ESPN or something like that? Or could it really just be the same project?
Good question. I think it's whatever Jack wants to do, honestly, at that point. I think the initial thing, if you're delivering those images of that team to a team, of course, those images of the team that you deliver to the team have to be just of that team. But if Jack works with 3 or 4 teams over the week or however long,
then
you've built like this larger body of coverage of Baja, then I guess, yeah, you could sell the whole thing.
I can see that as a package. Would you need a writing component? I mean, as a full package, is that something?
Not necessarily. No,
Okay.
not necessarily.
Captions and photos can suffice for.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay.
Yeah. Or you could, I mean, you know, maybe if you don't submit writing, then the outlet might write their own bit to go along with it, or they might be covering it anyway. Or you might, even if you get a lot of response back from people, you might find a writer to, you know, cover it also. Team up with someone is a possibility. Yeah.
And I wonder if there's also outlets for, say, like B-roll, if I'm there shooting video and I'm somewhere, might as well shoot B-roll on there. There might be, like, say, ESPN that needs to fill in a story, maybe.
Yep, definitely.
Do people look for stuff like that?
I think so. I honestly wouldn't know where to pitch that myself. I've never done that myself, but I don't see why not. Your photos, I've done that a lot, and that I know from experience that
that works.
That method definitely works.
Okay, good.
Shooting B-roll at the same time, I think could work. I've never done it, and also the danger there is if you're shooting B-roll, video B-roll alongside your stills, you're going to miss stills.
Yeah. I know. I know. You want to be both places at once, but it's impossible.
Yeah, it's difficult. But I mean, I don't know, if you are like putting feelers out, you could put feelers out to some outlets, to some TV outlets. Yeah, to say, look, I'll be shooting. Do you want some B-roll? I'm trying to think of places. I mean, you could sell to like a stock.
So I think I'm trying to remember the name, but I think it's called Black Box, where they kind of aggregate your not B-roll. What the hell's the term? I can't think. I have this stupid monitor beeping next to me right now. They'll take all your stock footage. That's what it is.
Okay,
And you
yeah.
shoot things that are like stock footage.
Mhm.
So even just like more generic stuff, like if you don't get specific logos or anything in there, things that are more likely to sell, they'll aggregate it out to like Shutterstock and Envato and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And then I think they just take a cut of each image that's sold each time. But if it's work that you already have, it's stuff that you're already doing, you might not make hundreds of dollars per image, but you might make dozens. It's
Yeah.
But it's
Um,
passive, right? So it's just working in the
yeah,
background.
exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's
I do know if it's anything like when you if I'm shooting an event or something like that, like a wedding, usually it would have to be written into the contract, like, hey, anything that doesn't make the cut of your video, I'm
Mhm.
allowed to use later as my own stock footage or sell. Like it's
Huh.
usually you got to be upfront about it because
Right.
it could just be, I like that one take for your video better. This other take, it's a separate clip, but it looks exactly the same. Like you don't want someone, getting upset about that.
Yeah.
Right. Conflict of interest.
What's
Yeah,
it
I'm not.
called? Do you
That
have a
hasn't
black box?
actually. That part hasn't happened to me, but
Yeah.
because I'm not that big. But
Is it called black box?
I think so. I think that's what it was. It was.
Or you just hit mute there, mate. We lost you again. You back?
Yeah. Sorry. All right. The baby monitor turned off, so I'll leave it off mute.
Oh.
It was beeping. It was dying, so I didn't want to annoy everyone while you were talking.
Oh, no, you're cool, man. How's your while we're talking, how's your edit going then? It sounds like a monster.
Yeah, I thought I was onto something, and then I started putting it together. I just started putting the proxies together on a timeline and everything, and then I realized that in my head I'm onto something, but I need it to be essentially, I need to make something that, outside looking in, you're assume someone's coming in blind or new to this. It's got to keep them and inform them. So I need to keep it even more specific, I think.
Yeah. It's how long is it? Do you need it to be?
There wasn't any specs for it. My plan was to do was I going to do 44 minutes? I think I was going to do, yeah, well, he wanted all the 100 minutes of selects that I picked. He was like, that's great. We'll use all of it. That's not, no one's going to, he's like, I'm not making you an hour and a half thing. I was like, at 44 minutes, you could go to any broadcast station and that is, the exact amount of time they would need to put their own commercials in and you can fill an hour time slot somewhere.
Okay.
Or I could do it, a 22:30 or something like that.
Let me give the backstory actually. So as I remember it, so you have a client or a friend who's given you all this footage of interviews and B-roll of a story of murders in New York 10 years ago, right?
Yep.
And he wants you to edit it down. And he's a bit of a difficult client.
Yeah, he's not necessarily difficult. He's just he's almost too agreeable. There's almost like he hasn't thought of anything. So anything I say, it's it's like, that's great, do it. I really wanted him to do the selects because, he's a lot closer to this than I was. He was there, he did the interviews. I would have really liked to know what his vision was, but I'm not sure he can translate that.
You might not have one.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is.
Well, thanks for the link.
He is a radio host, so I think he thinks in words, not images. I don't think he can bridge that gap, and it's kind of showing. I also put the blackbox.global in the chat if anyone wanted to try and sell stock footage there.
Thank you. How was can I ask what your contract is with him? At what point do you get paid?
I already got half just from the work I have done because I've now done more work than we originally agreed upon.
Right.
And he's honest about it. He's good about everything. I can, if I wanted to send him the bill for the transcription, he would, send me the money at some point. He's not a bad guy. He's just, it's not the softball I thought it was going to be.
Right, right.
You know, I was like, oh, a serial killer, of course. That's the only one on Long Island. Of course, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I keep finding myself, and I have, it's actually right here because I finally got to work on it again today. Like this yellow pad has so many torn out pages
Oh, man.
because I keep ended up falling down to the question, like, why? Why did they cover it up? And that hasn't been actually exposed yet. So it's hard. I feel like I want to answer that question.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speculate.
Can you shoot more? Can you add to it? Maybe that's a rabbit hole you
I
don't
mean,
want to go down.
honestly, I'm gonna have to because some of the footage he shot, I'm pretty good at grading and editing, but it's just not. Like I had to bump it down to 720 just to look kind of respectable.
Okay.
It's yeah, I think he used the autofocus on his original Canon C100, but it focused on like, you know, the brick fireplace, not the guy sitting in front of it.
Yeah.
You know, anything that was like a straight line. So I'm not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But I want to figure out who, because some of, you know, all the people, the majority of them I'd like to use, they're senators, legislators, they're
Oh,
people
wow.
that I can get access to, but I need to make sure that when I'm there, it's very buttoned up. Like I know because I've seen the full interviews, you know, his interview with our state senator, the camera rolled for, I think, 27 minutes. So it took him 3 minutes to set up because at the end of the camera rolling, it was him picking it up to walk out of the room. Like he had exactly 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
So,
You know what you could do? Because if you go out and start shooting now and adding to what he's already got, you're essentially like fixing his narrative mistakes for him, perhaps, or perhaps you're making what is like a difficult and big project kind of bigger by adding to it. So maybe that's.
I think what the hard part I have right now, I think, is I don't know what the ending is.
Right. But so that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
So you could just edit what you have into, I'd maybe push for like shorter, try and go to like 30 minutes and then say, look, this is the best of what you gave me and get it done
it's on
real
me.
fast.
So yeah, 30 minutes sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. Get it off your desk. If he's agreeable,
Mhm.
hopefully he won't push back too much. And then say, look, you haven't answered these questions. So maybe this 30 minutes is just part one.
Yeah.
Why don't, and then you can pitch to him, kind of, you can say, look, I'd love to work on part two if you would, or if you don't, then you're out the door and onto your own.
No, I do. I mean, with the new district attorney that's coming in, he's allowing the FBI back onto the case. The thing is, the last police chief, who is now federally indicted for a different crime, kicked the FBI off this case, which is what sparked everyone thinking, oh, this must be a cover-up.
Right.
So now that the FBI is back on it, they're pretty sure it'll actually get solved, or at least questions will be answered. And he would like that to be part two, like the questions being answered.
Oh,
hey,
wow.
who is the serial killer? Which I also don't think it's a single person, but I've watched all these interviews so many times. I've developed my own theories on it, so I might be too close.
Yeah. I interviewed a while back two scientists who have a lab down here in Texas, and they do the FBI send them all of their DNA tests to do, and they can, I don't know, they have some special test where they can pick like the smallest piece of DNA and figure out who was the
Yes,
culprit.
Actually, the state senator talks about that toward the end of his interview. The genetic, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's the they use pieces of DNA and they use genealogy to trace it.
Yeah.
He says the name of the lab because he references there's one in Texas and then one somewhere else in the world. So it's got to be that. Yeah.
Is it Othram? You know that? Does it ring a bell?
I'm about to pull up Rev and find out, honestly.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah, man, I'd get that off your desk real quick.
Yeah, because there's other things I'd like to do something that's a more like extreme sports sounds really cool. That's
Yeah.
like there's no way to like say that otherwise for me. That's
Yeah.
my sister rides motorcycles around. She does this track in New Jersey. I was like, all right, well, a story about female motorcycle racers, kind of
Oh.
cool. Like, something small, quick. I have access because it's my sister, and it just seems fun to do. I don't know where it would go or what, but at least it's a story that I can see full circle in my head.
Yeah. Jack's got his thumbs up for that one.
Oh no, I was thinking, that's a story right there that you don't even know. You won't even know where the story is, but just showing up, you could go in a lot of really cool directions.
There's also in terms of like framing, I've figured, or I've learned in terms of framing narratives, there's kind of easy frames you can fit stuff into. There's like the new, and that's breaking news. There's the this is fucking weird, and that's Vice,
Yeah.
And then there's also like the female frame. It doesn't happen so much for the male frame, but like, there's outlets who cater just to specific strong female narratives, like Elle and Mary Claire, and so I think if all I'm saying is if you were going to make that story, I don't think you'd have trouble finding a home for it.
Yeah.
Hey Sabith, how are you getting on, man? You want to tell us about your stuff?
Yeah, no worries. Learning by listening. So
sure, man.
Good. Basically, I'm trying to set up some interviews for my visit in about 2 weeks. So I do have a local contact there on ground in Mexico.
Oh, wait, so you're going to Oaxaca?
Mm-hmm, Oaxaca, that's right.
Okay.
And I do have someone who's helping me set up the interviews. Because these villages, they have their own sets of rules and regulations in terms of how you can conduct interviews. You can't just show up and start interviewing people. So you need permission from certain people, and you've got to follow a certain protocol.
What is the, could you give Jack and Joe a little background on your story?
Of course, yeah. So I am working, let me send you my website so it'll make more sense. So I'm actually an academic, so I am affiliated with the university. And I am working on stories related to migrants and artisans in Mexico, Oaxaca, right now. This came out of my work prior in terms of migration and remittances. So that's a little about the background. The kind of people I'm interviewing are artisans, people who are return migrants, people who worked in the US, gone back, worked here for a few years, gone back. It could be both men and women, could be people who dealt with all kinds of issues, right? One of the interviews I did last time was this guy who had serious addiction issues, apparently. So he was a young kid who worked in California, suddenly started seeing a lot of money. He was barely 18 or 19 and started drinking and got into all kinds of stuff. So he just couldn't hold a job in the US. So those sorts of stories, because usually you hear there are certain narratives about migrants, right? Either very positive or very negative, depending on your political ideology. So I think there are those in between stories which I've come across, which I'm also trying to capture visually this time. Earlier, I've written a book on this issue, but now it's more visual. And one of the reasons I'm here is to really figure out the visual storytelling part and try and capture those narratives a little more visually.
Nice. So you found, so when you're down in Mexico, you found somebody to help you set up interviews?
Yeah, even the last time when I went, I actually found a local student. So she's actually a local girl who's doing a PhD in one of the universities. So I found her through a professor there. And over the years, we've sort of gotten to know each other pretty well. And she's sort of I don't want to use the word fixer, but more or less, I give her some money and she gets something out of it, right? And there are certain things which outsiders cannot do. Like I said, you can't just show up and start interviewing people. Apparently, there are rules and regulations around this. So it's good to work through her because she knows the local people. She gets all the permissions and all that. And Then I show up and I do what I have to do.
Good. Yeah, it's so valuable having a fixer or a knowledgeable local, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
can smooth the way for you.
Yeah, saves you a lot of time and trouble.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so you're excited to go.
Very excited. Yeah, it's been a couple of months, so I think few more photos won't hurt me. I have a good stock of images already, but
Yeah.
I think I need to, like we've been talking the last couple of weeks, I need to add a little more nuance, a little more depth, and I think I'll have a few, at least 4 to 5 stories. I think if I do it right, I
Yeah.
can come back with at least 4 to 5 stories.
Yeah. I'd say let me while you're down there, because I've seen your photos so far, and you're right, you do have some strong photos in there. Let me think of some tips for you for when you're down there, because we might not speak before.
Right.
If you can, when you're with so you'll have your interviewee, presumably, this is how I'd imagine it will happen, and you'll spend time interviewing, and you're talking, and then you can make a portrait photo, for example, and I'm sure you'll do that naturally. And what then after that I'd encourage you to try to do is that person that you've interviewed, try and either ask them to, or have your fingers crossed that they do this naturally, begin to engage in something physical. So for example, if they're your story that you were making about the fabric dyers, you want them to be working on that, grinding up the stuff to make the dye, and then maybe putting the fabric in it. Try and encourage them to do that for maybe like 30 minutes, for like longer than feels comfortable, and have your fixer make sure that the person who is your interviewee, make sure your interviewer is not talking, just ignoring yourself and your fixer for as long as possible, and then you start kind of a little way away and photograph wide first. And as they get comfortable with that, and they'll feel uncomfortable to begin with, but keep going, and then they'll just begin to ignore you, and then get closer and closer and closer, and just shoot 500 photos. If it's digital, shoot so many. And because I found when I was beginning my instinct was to say, may I take a photograph? I'd lift up my camera and I'd literally take a photograph, and then I'd put my camera away. I'd say thank you, because I was real shy. I'm quite a shy person, and I'd feel like I was intruding on their world. And I'd get home and I'd look at the one photograph and it was shit. And I realized over time that you spend 30 minutes, get as many angles and as much composition, and slow the heart rate right down, deep breaths, and after a while that person won't mind you being there anyway. And that would be my big tip: spend a long time.
Well, thanks, Spike. I appreciate that.
I hope so. That was a real ramble.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Even the last time I did take a lot of photos, but I think you're right. Going back and making them comfortable enough for them not to notice me is helpful, right?
Yeah. Also, you're in a great position, because if you have a local fixer who can explain in local language what you are hoping to do,
sure,
then they'll understand and it won't be so awkward.
Yeah. And of course, I speak Spanish, so language is not as much of a barrier, but I think they also code switch. They also speak indigenous language, so between them they start it's not even Spanish, it's a different level of communication gap. So, but you're right, getting them, and these people have seen me a few times now, so they feel comfortable.
Great.
I think there's certain familiarity, and we sit and eat with them, so there's that level of camaraderie. Yeah. But you're right. I think the best tip I've gotten from you so far over the last couple of conversations is spend more time. I think that nothing replaces that, right? You need more time.
Yeah, that's where the gems come out, because, for example, maybe you are photographing that person dyeing the fabric, and then you spend an hour or two, and then their child walks in, and maybe they're playing with their child while they're dyeing the fabric, or you know, like something spontaneous crops up that's like an amazing thing to see, that only happens by time.
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
No worries, man. Good luck. I'm jealous. I don't get to leave Houston.
I'm sure there's a lot going on there too.
I've been shooting so much medical stuff lately. I've been shooting lots and lots of surgeries, and today I was filming a really old dude who'd had a brain surgery, and I think I told you about it, Sabith, a few weeks ago. He'd had electrodes put right down deep in his brain. They'd run a wire up the back of his neck, inside his skin, and then it came down the front to his chest, and he'd had a like an electronics pack fitted under his skin, so you can see, like, it's like a square, you can see it like busting out of his chest, and they turn it on and it fires these pulses into his brain that just, he's a Parkinson's patient, or similar, it's a condition similar to Parkinson's, and they switched it on today, and his hand before was like this, and they switched it on, and his hand was just normal. It's crazy. So that's my world at the moment, very medical. Yeah. But and these are incredible things to see, but it's for a private client, which means I can't share it anywhere because you know, there's a copyright issue, but also there's HIPAA laws, so my hands are kind of tied with it, but it's fun. We got a few minutes left, and I've been talking a load. Is there any questions that you guys have that, you know, are burning a hole in your brain that maybe I can answer, or maybe someone here can answer?
Spike, I have a question for you. You worked in Europe as well, so I'm just curious, out of curiosity, just to expand the market. What are the sort of level of interest / budgets that European media has? Is it even worth pitching to European media for stories from here? Because we are physically here, all the three of us. So we might have a competitive advantage, right? In terms of pitching stories to European media versus just exclusively American media.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is your question, to boil it down, does European media buy American stories? Correct.
And do they pay reasonably well as compared to American media?
Yes, they pay equivalent to American media, but they do buy American stories. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The trick with it is you have to frame the story so that it's kind of relevant to the country that you're pitching to. So, like, when Trump was in, or when Trump was on the presidential circuit, that was a very, very easy sell to European media, because it affected, you know, Europe, and he was meeting with Germany and England all the time. That's an easy one. I honestly can't think of any other examples off the top of my head, but that's the trick. You just got to frame it so it's interesting for them.
Okay.
But it's normally not a difficult sell.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing about it is it's, you know, I talk a lot about selling the same story to multiple outlets and maintaining your own copyright. Within America, it's fairly difficult to sell exactly the same story to 2 or 3 because it's a competitive market. Europe and America are not competitive markets particularly, so it's quite easy to sell the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And make double the money.
So when you sell your story to multiple markets, at least domestically, at least in the US, is it literally the same story, or do you have to reframe it or do something different? Or
it's up to you. It can be the same story. I've normally found what happens is, if it's a breaking news story that I've covered, that normally sells as the same story because there's no real other way to frame it. You know, it's kind of cut and dried. It's like, you know, Black Lives Matter protest in Dallas turned violent, or you know, people storm the White House. It's kind of cut and dried. That's just how it is, and multiple people will buy that just as it is. If you're making a feature on something, for example, like your film might, you can either try to sell it cut and dried how it is. It normally needs a new frame though.
Mm-hmm.
But also to that point, what happens is that I don't normally always worry about reframing, because what happens is when you say I pitch exactly the same story to two different outlets,
Yeah.
and they both say yes in a competitive market. Say I pitch to the New York Times and the New Yorker, and they both say yes. What happens is it has to go through like 50 people at the New Yorker and 50 people at the New York Times, and I mean editorially. So when it comes out the other end, the story is way different anyway.
Okay.
So you don't even have to try to concoct your own frame. The editors at that outlet will not force, but they will. It will have their stamp on it.
Okay, that's different. I do mostly video work, and by mostly I mean I do entirely video. That's my background. That's my bread and butter. It's
Okay.
So it's, you know, the idea of, you know, maybe making a feature, you know, something 3-5 minutes, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then selling the same thing, retaining the rights to it, just is that's a new concept to me. Generally, it's so far in my career, I've done something and then it's out of my hands. Like I also have plenty of stuff like the medical and things like that I don't even have. Like I do a lot of stuff for AB InBev, but it's all behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I can't take any of that footage home or anything. That's just, you know, I'm just another guy that works there basically.
Right.
Even though I am a contractor, but it's
right.
If so the retaining the rights thing is still, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
You can do it with video as well.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on whether it's your story. So for example, I've sold the same thing to The Guardian video and NBC. But because it's my story, because I went out and filmed it, shot it, researched it, edited it, and I went to both of them with a ready-made package. They didn't need to they weren't asking me to work on their story. I was giving them my work. Right. That's I think the difference.
And now NBC, did they know that you sold it to The Guardian, or you just said, this is my story, I have these rights, I'm doing what I want?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It went other places as well. I think it went to Al Jazeera for a little bit. But then you're in like a contract negotiation phase. Because it's your work, because you filmed it, it's your, not necessarily intellectual property. I'm not a legal person, but
yeah.
You know, you put the energy into the research. You've paid for your fuel and your hotels, and you know, it's your project. It's your work. So yeah, you retain the copyright. If somebody, they never get exclusivity unless they're paying a lot of money. I would say in my negotiations, but the best that I can give, and in that scenario, I gave, I think it was a month where NBC could publish it without anybody else exclusively, and then after that month finished, other people can start to publish. So that's kind of cool.
Are these just mostly handshake deals, or do you have a lawyer that you regularly work with and does the contract part?
No, I was doing them myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No handshake deals.
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's pretty easy though. I didn't really need a lawyer, or I don't need a lawyer. Haven't yet. I think they always give you a contract first.
Okay.
So
That
then
makes
I
sense.
just,
Yeah, that this is what they do. That makes sense. Yeah.
and so I read their contract, and it's always massively weighted towards them.
Hmm.
So I just strike out the bits of their language that I don't like and add in what I'm my acceptable terms.
Hmm.
And then they normally come back and say, okay, or they come back and say, hey, that's not quite right. Or, it goes back and forwards for 2 weeks or so.
Okay.
Yeah. You just have to figure out what you're happy with, but never give the rights away, I'd say, unless it's a assignment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of helpful, I guess. Sorry, that was a ramble as well.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm not there yet, so it doesn't need to be specific. It's, I'm just wrapping my head around it.
Yeah. Hey Joe, what do you want to work on, man? What's your dream project?
That is a great question. I mean, the next big thing that I will, whether it's dream project or not, my brother's nonprofit is called Atlantic Counter Trafficking, and it's fighting human trafficking. I was on his board helping get the nonprofit set up. That's why I was asking about lawyers and stuff, because I've been dealing with a lot of that stuff. But I think I'm moving to some chief position, probably CMO, because it's my background. And yeah, I'm gonna, when funding comes in, drive toward making content related to human trafficking, whether it's informational, like, hey, this is how you spot it, or training videos for police departments, or it's an expansive company he's got, and it's not like a regular nonprofit where it's like, hey, we're going to do these things. It's that him and other former intelligence and military friends already started doing things. Like, they've already started targeting people and started building reports, and they've already passed on information to police departments. I was late to this because I was on a webinar with them right before that, just kind of like an informational, letting college kids know, like, hey, this can happen to anyone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that will probably take over my passion projects in the near future. And I'm okay with it. Like, it's, it feels like fighting the good fight. It's not, I might not get to hang off the back of a motorcycle while trying to either chase or lead my sister's motorcycle, but it's, it's good to feel like you have purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
hoping that works out.
yeah. Good. That's a monster topic as well.
Yeah. I mean, if I can do it for the company, and then because no one's taking a major salary, even when we do get funding. So if I can do extra to then sell those stories, that would be nice.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
That's a necessary story as well.
Yeah.
I've run into it a little bit in Houston, and I've never. It's a really dark topic.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah, you have to watch your psychological health if you work on that. Make sure you see. I don't know.
Yeah. It helps. It makes a difference. I'm coming home to 2 twin girls that are 9 months old, so it makes it easier to get out there and do it.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to see some of your work on that.
Yeah, well, me too. So
you'll get there. Just get through your edit.
Yeah, one day at a time. It's about where I'm at right now. I just got off a month-long job where I was an audio guy, because to pay the bills, I'm still just a freelancer. I'm not doing it just for myself yet. I guess it would still be a freelancer, but I'm working for other producers still. And I'm miking talent, explaining to them that I work for the client. My client is someone else whose client is in the control room, whose his client isn't even here. So I was the lowest person on the totem pole, probably. And
that's how it is now, though. Everyone's a freelancer, it's good.
Yeah, you know what? I'm writing off this 6% of our house here, or whatever percentage square footage this is on our taxes. That's kind of nice.
See, there you go. Silver lining.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that would be a powerful way to move, man. I honestly, I also don't see. It's such a ginormous topic with such a necessary, such a necessary topic to cover, and I don't see much published on it.
Yeah.
I guess what I mean by that is I just don't think that people are digging in or can find access, or you know what I mean. I think
Yeah,
if you
I mean,
did
I
work
guess
on that,
also, it's kind of a rough topic. Like I'll share my brother's company in the group, and if anyone has any ideas or needs access,
thanks.
reach out to anyone here. I'm on that page too. So it's like, let us know and we'll put you there, because it doesn't matter who makes the content as long as it exists.
No, I think you're the man to do it. Cool, man. How about you, Jack? Any final thoughts?
So I was looking at the website, I lost you guys. No, I'm taking it all in. I'm sure you answer it many times. So kind of my question is, is how to get the work out there, right? And pitch. Once you have the interest, how do you pitch it in a way that hits the home run? I find out, I get excited and I pitch things to people, and I'm kind of confused when they don't just excitedly just say, yeah, let's do this. It's like, oh, there's actually work there. There's not everybody's just waiting for your cool story to come across their desk.
They're not, but on the flip side, they are as well, because so much of the industry now is freelance, and I think there's a trepidation as well with freelancers where we think like, oh, I don't want to reach out to that organization because I'm scared, or they must have their own work, or they must be busy, but actually they're relying on the work from freelancers. So I think you're right, they're busy, but also on the flip side, they need content. If you want to boil it down to such a horrible phrase like that, they need content, because the publication cycle now is so rapid. We're not publishing a printed magazine a month. We're publishing a web page a day or an hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
So if you think of it like that, it makes it easier. And then I'd also say the same as well is it's maybe a little bit of a game of numbers, in terms of it's trying to pitch to as many relevant editors and outlets as possible without straying into annoying people that are not relevant publications. Like for example, for your stuff, I wouldn't be pitching to Elle Magazine or Vanity Fair, perhaps, but probably unlikely.
Yeah.
So you're looking for sports magazines or TV outlets, I'd say.
Yeah. So you said you asked about somebody's dream job, Joe's dream job, and my assignments, like my dream assignment would be like the Times style, the Style magazine, or Wall Street Journal style magazine. How sometimes you have these photo essays and they're kind of fashion oriented, but yet sometimes they bleed into my space, but there's this aesthetic push-pull collaboration between maybe high art, high fashion, and the grunge, and that's where I want to take it, somewhere maybe outside of, say, no, where you think you would see it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But how do you package it in such a way that somebody would see it and be excited by it?
I think for those magazines, you need a frame or a narrative undertone. Oh, are you off, man? See you, bud.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, good luck on your shoot.
Thank you. I'll be in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, you need a a narrative undertone to pitch to those. So you'll need to find, and I don't know what it is. I think this will be personal to you. You'll need to, I think it's probably a question where you're looking deep inside your own mind and saying, all right, well, why am I interested in this? What does this speak to me? And then that's probably your frame, you know, and try and like dig down through the levels of that. Because if I'm asking myself, I'll give you an example. Why am I interested in motocross? And my first answer is probably like, because it's fucking cool. And then I'm like, yeah, but there's more to it than that. Second answer is because I've done it for a long time, or I did it when I was a kid, maybe. But what's the like emotional bit below that? Probably because when I'm on that thing, I feel free, or, you know. That's not quite answering your question, I know, but
no, I understand what you're saying, because you're looking for what is it, that visceral thing that maybe you forgot you even got into it because of maybe it's a smell or a sound or you know, the dust in your eyes that you kind of you remember a childhood memory, and it's like you're trying to translate that into somebody that may just be looking through a glossy fashion magazine.
yeah,
But yeah, you wanted them to feel that same emotion, even though they may never experience that.
yeah, that's it. But and it's also
You
like,
said that, and I remembered the first time I was riding on a quad somewhere I shouldn't have been. Big open dust quarry, like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he nailed it. That was
amazing
it.
feeling, isn't it?
I'm not even here. I'm there right now.
Yeah. You put on that hat and
You already found it. That was cool.
yeah. I think it's like it. So there you found like the emotional thing that you're trying to portray, but then you've got to give it that frame that editor or producer can give to their audience. So it's I think that's one that only you can answer, but it's like, it's got to either, so from before, it's got to either be something like really new, really weird, or really aggressive. And the new is probably not applicable. Perhaps weird, perhaps like the Baja angle is like, well, you know, look at these crazy people who are. I think of like when I imagine that. Have you seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? That's how I imagine you covering that, and all those people in the sand. Look at this like weird tent city in the desert here. That's maybe the weird angle. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of like.
Yeah, that Gonzo journalism style where he really brings you into it, and it's non-linear, but it's emotional.
Yeah,
and it sticks with you.
Yeah, or it's like, well, look at this family. There's a grandfather here, and then his son is also racing, and then he's teaching his little kid, and they're all doing it together. That's like a family angle that's perhaps acceptable. It's difficult to find those frames, but it depends on what you're shooting, what you're truly trying to say yourself.
Right.
And I think you don't worry about who you're pitching to.
Make the work. Focus on the work and let that sort itself out once the work is sort of established.
Yeah, because you're the artist. You're the person who has this in their mind. If you can just portray what is interesting about that.
Trust that somebody will want it.
Someone will. This is the thing. There are so many outlets out there that if you just hit, and the same thing goes again. I'd make a spreadsheet list of all the contacts that I've found who I think will be interested, and I just do like a mail blast. And all you need is one or two paying, $2 or $3 grand, I don't know, or 5, whatever.
Yeah.
And you've made 10 grand or so.
Right. Okay. I'll share my website so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about.
I'd love to, man. Thanks.
Do these these chat threads, do they live on after this closes?
No, I just screen grabbed it though. In fact, I should just.
Oh.
Would you rather it doesn't? I guess that's the question.
No, I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Because Sabith left, and I was thinking I should have put it on while he was here.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll email it out then to just us guys, and he can have a look.
Well, maybe we get a list of everybody's portfolio sites that sort of in the course, or is that?
Yeah.
Maybe that already exists.
No, it doesn't, but we totally need that. Yeah. I'll get on to everybody about that. Wait, I'm just looking. Oh, mate. Beautiful.
Right.
Oh.
So these are all like stories, they're all their individual vignettes of a little slice of, it's mostly kind of a day in the lifestyle. This is one day of
Yeah.
these individual people's lives.
Yeah. The frame could just be as simple as like, you could just start with like, well, what's the behind the scenes culture of this sport?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are they, when, of course you're shooting the person when they're racing their car, that goes without saying, but like, once they take their hat off, what are they doing? Are they drinking Lone Star, or are they like eating caviar?
Uh-huh.
Is it Formula One, or is it NASCAR behind there? Are they in an easy up tent, or have they gone back to a hotel? Like, you know what I mean? That's really interesting to me. Like, are they sitting in a kiddie pool with a 40 of cheap beer, or are they in a hot tub with chicks somewhere? And then the next day you're back to shooting cars again. That lights me up.
Yeah.
And I think if you can't find another frame, if you approached it just from the cultural angle, any of those magazines that you just outlined, I'm not necessarily saying they'd buy, but I think they'd be interested.
Right. It would pique their interest.
Yeah.
Because it's about more than sport. It's about the human aspect of the culture.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. And also you've tapped into the other a bit, the weird, the like, here's this group of people over here that we know something about, and we see what they do, but we don't really know what happens behind the scenes. Everybody wants to know what everybody else is doing behind the scenes, no matter what cultural group they're in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a set up frame.
Yeah. All right.
I'm excited to see it, man. I can imagine. I'm jealous. Oh, thanks, Joe. Cheers, mate.
I'm like real self-conscious about this after looking at Jack's, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
No, it's a judgment-free space, man.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Wow, you've been shooting loads. Are they all these projects?
Yeah. Well, most of them are samples of projects, because a lot of them are like one, two, three, four, five. Yeah, like 5 of these are like ongoing shows or pilots, or one of them is just, I called it World Team Tennis, but I shot different things. That was the greatest, because that was that tennis league I was talking about. It was 24 days I shot and edited every single day. That was the greatest boot camp I ever could have done, and I was paid for it.
Oh, really? Oh, I see you. Oh, nice. Wow, shooting tennis is hard.
Kind of. I mean, I did the behind the scenes stuff, so
okay.
I wasn't half the on-court cameras were robot cameras anyway, because it was during COVID.
Oh, you've got some trafficking stuff already on here.
Yeah, I've done, their reach out stuff and things like that, and I had my brother stand for some of my green screen tests and things like that. So
nice, man. That's good.
Yeah,
you need to start. You need to shoot.
It gets into cooler things toward the top. I'm like, I want to be cool like Jack, man. I want that style.
I want that style too. there's something about like sports and racing and gasoline culture, isn't there? That yeah, I guess it's not just gasoline culture. I mean, tennis has the same thing, and I really like triathlon. It's that I don't know that. Well, sports is a visual thing. It's a physical.
Yeah.
It's a tangible thing, isn't it? You get nice images from aggressive stuff.
Yeah, I think you said it best earlier. It's just fucking cool, and I just at the end of the day, I want to do cool shit with cool people. Like that's kind of where I want to go with my life.
It's just fucking cool. Yeah, that's the key. That is the key, is finding something that, I mean, if you're a photographer or videographer, it's finding something that's visual, isn't it, and physical and aggressive, but not aggressive necessarily, but good to look at, aesthetic.
Yeah,
all right, mate, I'm gonna wrap it up, you guys.
absolutely.
8:20 over here. I'm gonna go eat my
Thank you
dinner.
so much.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks to you two for jumping on and being so open and transparent about your work. You're both doing great stuff. You don't really, you're already doing great work.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. Thank you.
And you can email me anytime if you have like questions and stuff. You can either do it in the forum on the membership, or you can just email me direct if you have like, I don't know, even suggestions or questions or thoughts, or just get in touch whenever you want.
Perfect.
Easy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just ask any of you down south guys how the weather is sometimes, just to hear it.
Fucking
Yeah, I know. 75 across the board, right?
God, I wish it was.
Uh,
I know.
Poor
We
thing,
got
how
our
you
heat.
survive.
We get our heat in September.
Do you? We got it. We got it today. I think it was like 85 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We once a week you do this, right?
Once every 2.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Cool.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see you guys on here again if you feel like
I
you
will.
want to.
Yeah.
yeah, the reminder email was clutch. So yeah,
Thank you. All right, take care of yourselves. See you
All right.
later.
Cheers, guys.
see you later.
Good luck.